Hello, hello, hello. Good evening, everybody. Gil, because it's too hot outside. Oh, I bet that heat is going to come this way in a couple days or a day or two. So, how hot is it out there? Katie, hello. Shady Hill, good evening to you. Alicia, very cool. Gil, got basil going. No worries. I know that it's a busy time of the year. Kiri, hello. Filling up a water trough. Very good. Always need that water. 108. Ouch. It was a cooler day today. We hit 81. So, it's been very windy. So, and I was looking at the forecast. It says no rain in sight for the next 10 days. So, kind of going into our July dry, hot type of thing. So, I know in a week we're going to be back up in the 90s. But that's very typical for us. Usually, third week in July is like our peak heat for the summer. It's like the worst part. So once we get past that, there's still hot days, but it's not like intense, And then we get a little bit more rain and all that kind of stuff. So, Dave, good evening to you. Hello. Who else do we have here? Michigan Daffodil. Hi. How are you? Oh my goodness. Yeah, so it's very windy out. Probably, average 18 to 20 miles an hour wind. So not that bad, but enough so that it's hard to film out there. And it was great for drying sheets and towels, which I've been washing today. So hanging them on the line, and they're just, that kind of wind just whips the towels and gets them really soft. So you don't have like those stiff board type of line towels that you can normally get. Katie, did you change your name again? Spirit Writing Free Scenes, or has it been that way for a while? I know you've had a few different names, so I just didn't know. But so far, the hottest summer in history. Oh, I know that Chris at Holly Ridge Homestead, he's in northern Louisiana, and he was showing temps that were 117 without the humidity. And down there, it's extremely humid. So I bet they were easily like 125 with the heat index. Oh, it's just, you guys are blistering down there. I am so sorry about that. Patty, hello. How are you? And you're listening. I imagine you're probably doing dinner or something. Deb, oh, good evening. Good to see you. Very dry in the mitten. Oh, yeah, we've had like little spotty rain here and there, but not like a good soaker for a while. So I need to start watering the trees and everything. I got a few things planted today. So you guys, any of you who are even long-term gardeners or thing, but you haven't been doing it for a while, it's like, sorry, my the humidity is getting into my glasses. When we see, especially Southern gardeners planting in March and April and May and everything, and we get into June and we feel like we are so far behind here in the North, there's still crops you can grow, still shorter term things that you can put in the ground, even in July. So I'm planting beans and peas. I've got all my onions to put in. I have not gotten those in yet, but I just planted a few pepper plants that I bought. Just a few things that I just wasn't able to get to doing starts yet this year. So, so I've got those things in and they start growing. So it feels good to be back in the dirt and back in my garden beds. And it was just, it felt so good. No idea what the temperature is in the sun. Thermometer only goes to 120. Oh my gosh. Oh, well, Gil, thank you for watching the ads. That's very sweet of you. Um, yeah, my views are now averaging like 11,000 views a month. I'm just like, it's crazy. Uh, I did. I don't know. Well, it's kind of a mess back there, but it's a round one. Um, I got plants and stuff like that from my dad's house because we have to clear that out. So we've been going through picking out things that we want. But yes, I think it's a 20-inch diameter wind machine. I think that's the brand Wind Machine. And so it's pretty quiet, but it works really well. So yes, I did get a replacement fan. Thank you for thinking about that. Um, Dave, you got radish, carrots, beets, lettuce, spinach. Awesome. Yep, those are all pretty short term. So yes, I've got lettuce to put in. Going to put in a lot of peas. I've got 3 different kinds that I'm going to put in. I get my onions in. I can do carrots yet. Because once they are growing and starting, I mean, even if it cools down in September or something, yeah, 60 days right now puts me at September 11th. And, generally, I mean, 2 years ago, we had first frost on the 10th, which was extremely early. Normally it's the end of the month or even into October. So, it's more a combination because we start losing more daylight. So if I were to wait and plant in August, that would be too long to wait because we just run out of daylight then. So I like that, Patty. Garden therapy has begun. Yes, it does feel good. Be out there in the sun and the wind and the dirt and watering and yeah. So but oh, good. I'm glad that you guys, yeah, just be careful out there in that heat, you guys. It's, do a little bit, go inside, cool down or whatever, soak in a kiddie pool of cold water or something. Just be careful. Yes, be very, very careful. All right. So anybody else? So oh, you guys. So what has been on your agenda this last week for what you've had to do? We had 4th of July, of course, a week ago, and everybody kind of gets back home and gets into the swing of whatever their summer is. It's, whether it's work or just, you're an outside job, or if it's just full-time gardening, babysitting, vacationing, kind of whatever it is. So, yeah. So my last week was work because I had so much I had to catch up on from the previous few weeks of just letting things go. And we had my dad's burial on Saturday because the week before was his funeral, and he did a full body service and everything, the casket, the viewing and everything. And then after that, so, a couple days later or whatever, cremated. And so then we had the burial. So we had to wait for the process to be finished. And so we all got together again on Saturday. And so that part's done. And, some closure on that. And just have to finish up going through his house, doing a garage sale, getting all that stuff done. And a couple of memorials for my sister-in-law. And then by the end of August, by September 1st, we'll be able to breathe. Definitely be able to breathe. So, Dave, you're building new compost bins. Nice. You have all the wood cut and burned with torch. Yes. Yes, that's the best way to preserve your wood. Oh, so cool. I'm sure you're going to film that, I would imagine. But Oh, that's so great. I can't wait to see it. What wood are you using for that, Dave? Since you've basically cut your own wood, it sounded like. So Michigan Daffodil, you washed all but one window today? Wow, you're busy. That is great. Oh my goodness. Those are the jobs that you just like put off for a while and trying to get to that. Yes. Kiri, you have one goat paddock has fresh water. Nice. Good. I'm glad you're inside cooling down. Hey, Patty, Tinker's wife. Getting your balcony planters planted finally? Oh, well, fun. Oh, that'll be nice. You're harvesting chamomile, borage flowers, lemon balm, and 4 kinds of mint. Woo! Yeah, I don't have anything big enough this to harvest at this point. I've gotten strawberries out of the garden, and that's it this year so far. But the hemlock, ooh, well, that should be very cool. Gil, you're getting the dirt work done for the new concrete patio and the driveway. Put a new sprinkler. Nice. Well, very good. You know, getting those things in place takes effort and time, but overall, you know, the time that you save compared to being out there for 2 or 3 hours watering every day, right? You had a large moth in your greenhouse. How do you keep them away? Well, other than using mothballs in there, I don't. Well, it depends on what the moth is. I mean, if it's one that's a harmful one to your plants, then you do want to like try to get like a butterfly net, capture it and kill it. But if it's a beneficial moth, then just let it be, unless you're deathly afraid of moths. But Gil's been digging like a groundhog lately. Gil. I appreciate you so much being here, and I just have not had time to catch your videos. But life will settle down a little bit soon, and I'll be able to get back to some normal things here. Okay, your tomato leaves are being eaten. Check for if you have. You can get a little flashlight that's a black light, but check your tomato plants for hornworms, and they're like big fat green worms that are like the size of your pinky, and they will be mostly crawling up like the stalks of your tomatoes, but they start by eating your leaves first, and you do need to get rid of those, absolutely, and yeah. I picked a gorgeous bouquet of volunteer garden flowers. Oh, nice. You work in a Deb Rich photography gallery website. Oh, you know, you'll have to leave your Deb, leave a link for your website if you can. That would be so great. So, all right. I am going to talk about all the different, not all, but the main different ways of preserving our food and the benefits of each one. So those of you who've never preserved before or whatever, or you like only canned and you're afraid to branch out, or you've only dehydrated and you're afraid to branch out or something, just to kind of find what the benefits are for each one. Mostly pros. There are probably some cons here and there, but just want to show you the differences between them, kind of talk about it and figure out what works best for you, you know, and it's like choose what works best for your, like I said in the show notes, for your budget, for what you grow, whether you are growing just to eat fresh or if you're growing to put away food for the future, you know, whether that's 3 months from now or a year from now or whatever. There's so many different ways that you can preserve. And, you might hear only about freeze drying because it's so big right now, or you might only hear about canning. And it's like, okay, are there other ways to do this? What can I do with what I have that's not going to break the bank? That, you got to figure out what your space is too. If you want to do all the canning and stuff, but you don't have much space to store anything, then you might have to think about other ways to preserve. So just kind of have a good discussion here. Guys ask questions, whatever, and figure out what to do. So okay, yep. Well, that's good that she did a video on that. Oh, Michigan Daffodil, I love my Norwex cloths. They are so great. They definitely are. We have dehydrating always saves a ton of space. Yes, it does. Most definitely does. So I'm going to talk about some things. Now, I've got a couple links below. One is just like kind of all the different ways of preserving, and it's got a whole chart of nutrients and different things. It's from an extension office at Colorado State University, I guess it is. And then I put another link in there for Harvest Rate if people are interested in freeze drying. So it's not sponsored. I'm not doing a sponsorship for any of these things, but just to give you ideas, right? And then vacuum and seal your dehydrate. Right. Absolutely, Dave. So you dehydrate pear slices from the 6 to 8 free pears. Oh, nice. Yeah, and and it also depends on like your time available and everything. A lot of things for a dehydrator, you can put in the dehydrator in the evening, get up in the morning, and they're pretty much done. So there's very little processing, so to speak, through that. You just cutting up your things, making sure that they're in good shape, and then put them on the trays and walk away. So as opposed to like canning, there's a lot of preparation, and then getting the jars and working with the canner and different things like that. So there's again a lot of different pros and cons for each one. So all right, I'm going to just start reading some of the stuff that I have here. But it says, with the end of summer approaching, it is a great time to preserve fresh and local fruits and vegetables for months ahead. If you grow a garden or have a fruit tree, you may already know how fun and practical it can be to preserve excess produce for enjoyment all year long. Processing of any sort, including methods of preservation, can affect the nutrition and health benefits of food, sometimes negatively and sometimes positively. So we always say that fresh produce is the best, but it may not always be the case. Fresh whole fruits and vegetables lose nutrients over time. So like say you're picking your cantaloupe or your watermelon or something like that, and you've got more than that you can eat right then, and you've got it in the fridge cut up, or sitting around on the counter, it starts to deteriorate. As soon as you pick whatever is fresh, as soon as you pick it from the plant, it will start to deteriorate. So that's where, when you're canning and dehydrating and stuff, to take that fresh food and do something with it right away if you're not going to eat it that day or the next day or something. So anyway, that's where, yes, you can eat fresh, but if you have more than what you can handle that's fresh, then you need to figure out how you want to keep it. You don't want to just throw it away, right? We as Americans throw away so much food. They said it's like $2,500 a year of wasted food that we just throw away because it just goes bad. So there are, if you're making a dish and you have leftovers that you're not going to eat, yeah, you can, put them in a container and stick them in the freezer or something. If you're lucky enough to have a freeze dryer, you can always, put them out in a tray and freeze dry them with some other foods. And then you've got freeze dried chili or whatever it is that you've made, that type of thing. So I know wasted food is, I hate it when I have to throw something away that I have not been able to get to. Most of the time that happens when I have to be unexpectedly gone. I buy groceries and start preparing things, and then I have to be gone for 3 or 4 days, and I get back and there's just not enough meals to cover the food that's left, right? So Danny, your number 3 grandson has eaten 90% of your indoor tomatoes. Oh, wow. That's great. Are they like regular tomatoes? Are they cherry tomatoes? Oh, that's really cool. Oh, Alicia, that's great. You're going to get more greenhouses. Very, very cool. Your animals enjoy all the food your friends give you, otherwise would get thrown out. That's true. If you have animals, then it's not wasted food because it becomes their food in turn gives you more food, right? So good symbiotic relationship there. Yeah, it is. So that really helps. But if we don't have animals like me, it's like, you can always put certain food scraps in your compost and different things like that. So there are ways to combat that and to take care of that. But in general, we're talking about like the average American who, they just throw away food, and that's a lot. I mean, you break that down, that's like $200 a month of food that is just extra thrown away. And it's like, that's some people's entire food budget for the month. And although right now that's hard to stretch it that far. But anyway, let me get back to my things. So, okay, so they're saying, for example, a fresh picked head of broccoli consumed shortly after harvest will contain more nutrients than a head of broccoli sitting in the fridge and consumed a week or 2 later. Like I said, it starts to deteriorate. When it comes to preservation, while some nutrients can be lost or destroyed from the use of certain preservation techniques, many nutrients are also preserved. In some cases, preservation allows for a longer nutrient shelf life. Additionally, some nutrients can become more bioavailable when preserved. For example, have you ever heard that canned tomatoes have more lycopene than fresh ones? Lycopene is a healthy phytonutrient that is released during cooking and canning. So that's pretty cool. That is pretty neat. Well, keep in mind that preservation done commercially, versus preservation done in the home can vary in the ingredients added, such as salt or sugar, and the containers used, such as glass jars versus metal cans, that type of thing. So, canning your own things at home, you can control the amount of sugar, you can control the amount of salt, the flavors that go in there, all that kind of thing. So that's why it's just like so cool to be able to can your own tomato sauce and all that kind of thing, because you make it the way you want to. It doesn't have all of these other preservatives in it. Check on that. If it's not ideal, but at least it becomes chicken food if it spoils it. Yep. So expecting roosters too this winter. Oh, that's great. Patty, your challenge is learning how to cook for one. Yes. I find that I'll go to the store, buy the food that you can make food out of for dinner, and boom, so eating. Yeah. I've learned to, if I'm making a whole recipe or something, just, dividing up the leftovers into single serving containers. I find that like the glass 2 cup like Pyrex bowls with the plastic cover and everything, and then I'll just put a tape on it that says what it is. But if I can put the leftovers like that, and there's usually about 1 and 3/4 cups of food that goes in there, and that's like perfect serving, whether it's soup or a hot dish or anything like that. Um, oh, that's okay. I kind of figured out what you were trying to say there, but yes, it is hard to balance going down to cooking for one. I use smaller pots. I divide things up into single servings. Um, I will actually take recipes and cut them in half or quarter or something like that. So that helps too. But it is an adjustment. Definitely is. So we're going to talk about the first form of preserving is freezing. Most people have a freezer. If you have a refrigerator, there's probably a freezer attached to whatever or as part of it. Or if you have chest freezers or deep freeze, as a lot of you call them. So I think most people will think that, that'll be kind of their first thought of go-to of preserving something. Especially if you go to the store and you're buying bags of frozen vegetables or frozen fruit or just bread or whatever. It's like, okay, we want this to last longer, so let's throw it in the freezer. And so we know that freezers will last a certain amount of time. But so most nutrients are fairly stable to the freezing process, but they do begin to break down during storage. Now, if you can freeze in a vacuum seal, if you can vacuum seal something up really tight and freeze it, it will last a lot longer that way, because oxygen is the enemy of food in the freezer. So if you can remove that oxygen by vacuum sealing, that really helps. Hey Drops, how are you doing? Thanks for coming in. Some vitamin loss in frozen foods occur during the preparation, which depends on the food to be frozen. For example, vegetables are blanched before freezing to destroy enzymes that cause deterioration over time. So just the blanching process ends up pulling some of the nutrients out of there, but you need to do that. Peas need to be blanched, potatoes, some other fruits and things. Once in storage, frozen foods lose nutrients more quickly than canned. So keep that in mind if you're like, oh, I'll just throw all my tomatoes in the freezer. But they will lose nutrients more quickly than if you can them, largely due, again, to oxidation. For example, folate is almost completely lost from some vegetables within 3 months. Thus, eat frozen foods within 3 to 6 months for maximum nutrition. For best nutrient retention, freeze quickly and keep it frozen at 0 degrees or less, 0 Fahrenheit. I'm not sure what is that, minus 20 Celsius. I don't know what 0 is for us. And then store them in airtight containers to keep out as much oxygen as possible. All right. So again, it's a quick, easy process and everything, but they do start to, like I said, lose their nutrients fairly quickly. And again, that's another good reason why you want to, occasionally go through your freezer and, just pull out things. Like if you have meat and everything in there that's been in there for several months, you might want to consider canning up the meat if it's something you're not going to get to right away. So, all right, next one is canning. So canning preservation methods can impact nutrients in foods. Some nutrients, such as vitamin C and the B vitamins, decrease during the canning process. However, this loss also occurs when using heat, to cook fresh vegetables over the stove or in the oven. So it's like, okay, you're losing them in canning, but you eating them fresh, you're still losing them if you're heating them up, right? So if you're going to roast them or cook them on the stovetop. According to the USDA, canning on average decreases some nutrients by about 1/3 to 1/2. But once they are canned, further loss is only about 5 to 10% a year. Another reason why they want you to eat them within like 18 months, right? 2 years max, because after that, it's like the nutritional value of them is not very high. So it's not just the possibility of something going bad, but it's just you're just eating stuff that's has very little nutrients to it. Um, Microwaving, that's a whole nother thing I didn't have on here. We're really talking more about preservation and the different, I'm kind of comparing all of that drops, but microwaving actually, when you're nuking your food, it does destroy a lot of nutrients in your food. There's, you can go online and look at, there's studies, I guess you could say, that show the difference of what's happened when you use microwaved things. One was they had two different bean plants, and one they used like regular rainwater or whatever, just groundwater to water the bean plant. The other one, they had water that they had actually microwaved and then let it cool down. So they watered them both the same, had the same soil and everything. The plant that had been watered by the microwaved water died. It just shriveled up and died. It killed that plant while the other one flourished. So ever since I saw that and heard some of the other things, it was like, oh, okay, it's killing all my food. It's killing the nutrients in the food. So I got rid of my microwave about 8 years ago. So I don't even have one. So I couldn't help you with that one, Drops. But and I know it makes it so easy to heat up some food. Put a baked potato in for 5 minutes or something. It's done. Like you said, heat up some broccoli, do all that. But it does destroy the food too. Sorry. Okay. So anyway, back to canning. Once the food is canned, it should be stored in a cool, dark place for best nutrient preservation. Even though some nutrients are lost during canning, some nutrients are quite stable, such as fiber, vitamin A, carotenoids, I think I said that right, minerals, and vitamin E. As mentioned above, some nutrients may actually become easier for the body to digest. For example, some berry phytonutrients are more easily absorbed by the body after being heated. Any salt or sugar as an ingredient in canned foods is for flavor, not preserving. So if somebody says, well, you have to have salt or sugar in here in order to preserve your fruit. So, no, you really don't. It's for flavor. So it will preserve just fine without that. Alicia, it really does make a difference. If there are things you can heat on the stove, I just gotten used to accounting for that little bit of extra time, that it takes to heat something up. And I also have a toaster oven so that if I have, a piece of chicken or a piece of pizza or something that I want to just heat up that you would normally put in a microwave, that's leftovers, I can just stick it in there on a piece of foil or something. And in a few minutes, it's warmed up. Yeah, it takes longer, but, it's worth it. Deb, that's awesome. It's hard to eat. Oh, okay. It's good to see other people not having microwaves. Awesome. Hey, Jafum, how are you? Thanks for coming in. That's very sweet of you. So, all right. So we talked about freezing and canning. Now, the next one that we're going to compare is dehydrating. So now that would be in a regular dehydrator. We're not talking freeze drying. That's something different. Just a dehydrator where you have this machine with trays in it that you just run at a low temperature, anywhere from 105 to 160 degrees, something like that, Fahrenheit, and depending on the food and, that kind of thing. So air fryer works good to do quick heat. Oh, yes, very good. I have debated getting one and I'm not sure just because I don't have room for any other appliance in my kitchen. But I have heard that, or I've checked into that, like my Instant Pot, I can get an air fryer attachment, like a different lid on that. So it'd only be another lid that I'd have to store instead of a whole machine. And I could actually use my Instant Pot as an air fryer. Who'd have thought, But I think that was really cool that they did that. So your son and you did growing plants tests like that for homeschool science fair projects, watering with lots of different liquids. Amazing what people put in. Yeah. Yep. So true. So true. Um, okay. So dehydrating. Nutrients are stable in dried foods because the rates of enzyme and chemical reactions slow down without water. Did you know that without the water, the the reactions, the enzyme and chemical reactions slow down? Okay, it kind of makes sense though, right? So vitamin A, beta carotene, and vitamin C losses occur because of oxidation due to air exposure. Dipping foods in ascorbic acid, metabisulfite, citric acid, or lemon juice solution before drying also reduces nutrient loss. Like you'd want to do that with apples. Apple slices, because when you cut up an apple, it starts getting brown right away, right? Where you cut it, especially close to the center of the apple. So if you're wanting to dehydrate apples, and it takes a while for, hours for it to dehydrate. In the meantime, it can turn all kinds of ugly brown, right? And start getting mushy and everything. So if you soak it in citric acid or lemon juice, you can even do like apple cider vinegar or something. It's going to sour up your apple slice a little bit, but I think lemon juice water is probably my choice. If I didn't have, some actual citric acid and everything. But so you're dipping that in there. I don't know if it was bananas do that too, or is it sugar water for bananas? I'm trying to remember what bananas need. But anyway, the lemon juice for apples, it keeps your apple slices nice and white and everything. And so, before being able to dehydrate them. It also, lemon juice for pears too. Awesome. Okay. Yeah, so that helps to keep the nutrients in, helps to keep that loss of vitamins due to the oxidation, all that kind of stuff. So also rapid drying at higher temperatures, there's less nutrients, fewer nutrients are lost and everything. But a lot of things need to be dried at a lower temperature. So once you get things dehydrated, store them in airtight containers. These are carrots that I dehydrated back in 2018, actually, already. So they're already 4 years old. I haven't had to knead them yet, but these will be good for anywhere 5 to 10 years. So I've got moisture absorber in here. I've got an oxygen absorber to try to keep that out. So that's taken all the oxygen out of here. It's still vacuum sealed. And so these are a whole bunch of carrots. Now in this 1 quart jar, I'm trying to think. It might be, trying to think how many pounds of carrots. I'd have to go back and look, but a lot of carrots. This probably was, I did my, oh goodness, at least 15 or 20 pounds of carrots, I would say, went into here. So what I did is I just cut them into slices and then dehydrated them. And that's my carrots. So if I wanted to use these, I could throw them into a soup, or a stew or something like that. Could rehydrate them. Now, just rehydrating them for eating as like a nice crunchy thing, that wouldn't be very good. But they still have the nutrients in there. I can, like I said, throw them in soups and stews, that type of thing. All right, so I'm missing some stuff here. You have a countertop toaster, convection oven. Ah, there you go. That's nice. Drops. You can rotisserie small chicken with your air fryer. Nice. Oh, that sounds good. You're gonna get your medium freeze dryer going again. With, oh, you got a freeze dryer. Oh, I've been back at thinking about that and just going, I really need to. I actually have a page open on my website here, or no, on my internet. It's like I go and drool over those every once in a while. It's like I'm just trying to figure out where I can put it more than anything. Lose lemon juice for tomato sauce when canning as well. Yep, that helps to keep the nutrients going. Job, so true. It doesn't heat up the house nearly as much. Um, 20 carrots. No, I'm talking about like 20 pounds of carrots, Alicia, at least. This was a lot. I'm trying to think. It was probably a 30 or 40 pounds of carrots out of my garden that year. And I know it was at least half to 2/3 of the whole, my whole stash of carrots. So they dehydrate down very, very easily, very quickly. So used for soups and stews. Yep. Oh, Carrie, I'm so sorry. Have you checked like garage sales and things? See if anybody's getting rid of one, or Facebook Marketplace or anything? Ah, Dave, that would be very cool. Yes. That's the other thing you can do with dehydrated food is, okay, so I've got carrots here. I might have onions. I might have peas, um, ground beef or something, or just some other chicken or something like that. You can take all of that, throw it together in, put it in like a Mylar bag or even a vacuum seal bag or something. You could put like a whole mix of foods in there as your, along with even dried, like bouillon or something like that. And all you have to do is add water to all that, and you've got a delicious soup or stew or something. And it's like, that's one of the really cool things about dehydrating, is that you can just take a handful of this and that, a spoonful of that, and you've got a whole meal together. You would just vacuum seal carrots in a bag. Okay. Yep. So true. Yeah, you don't need to use your canning jars for storing your dehydrated food. Just to make sure that if you want it long term, to put oxygen and moisture absorbers in there, so that'll help take care of it. Hey Donna, how are you? Thanks for coming in. Yes, thank you, Dave. Add rice and pasta and different things all in there. Absolutely. Things that you're going to do. All right, so I'm going to just show you. I had one other jar here for the canning process. These were bits of ham, and I think it was left over from, if it was April, it was probably Easter or something. And so I just cut up a bunch of ham and then canned it. And I think it was some chicken broth or something I added to it, but it was already pre-cooked ham. And so now I've got this that I can pull out and, I don't know, make a nice big pea soup or something with it, or put it in drain it and then use that in maybe like a big egg bake or something like that. So I can do a lot of things with it. I just haven't yet, but so I've got that. Well, I suppose if there's nobody close to you, yeah, I carry that would. So, okay. Dried foods should be stored in airtight containers out of direct sunlight and used, they say, within 6 to 12 months. But if you store them really well, they can last a lot longer. All right. Then we have freeze drying. So freeze drying causes very little damage to the nutritional value of fresh food. This preservation method preserves nearly all of the nutrients found in the food prior to being freeze dried. So the process of dehydrating affects the taste, color, and nutrition. Dehydrating destroys nearly half the nutritional value. No, dehydrating, not freeze drying. Dehydrating affects all of that, and it destroys a lot of the nutritional value, all that kind of stuff. Freeze-dried food, in contrast, preserves the nutrition and looks and taste just like it did when fresh. Now I've got some Thrive Life. This one's just pineapple. It smells just like pineapple here. These are the get a nice chunk here. So this is what it looks like, a chunk of pineapple. And it's all crispy like this. And so it's very freeze dried. And when I add water to it, it'll be just like eating fresh pineapple. It's just like so good. Yeah, ham hot dish. Ooh, there you go. There you go. Yeah, drops. I never when my canned foods, I don't. Now, any dehydrated ones, I do, because those seals can pop off it more easily. So that's why I keep it on my dehydrated ones, but not on my canned foods. You love freeze-dried fruit. So good, even dry. Yes. So I've got quite a bit. Little tip that I found from somebody else online here was that blackberries, like black raspberries, are really, really good for an upset stomach. If you end up having the whole diarrhea part of things and everything, take like a half a cup, 2/3 of a cup or something of, you do fresh black raspberries or frozen. I keep a can of freeze-dried black raspberries, and all I have to do is rehydrate them, and just a handful of them, put them in some water, and voila. That's so much better than Pepto-Bismol, believe me. So, insane little bundle of taste when dry. Oh, I know, right, Dave? Rhubarb is good for the stomach. Oh, okay, I did not know that. So freeze drying can help you make sure you always have access to fresh, tasty food that works with your dietary considerations. So freeze-dried food is perfect for those who eat gluten-free, raw food, vegan, vegetarian, paleo, or suffer from food allergies. And that's where I put Harvest Right's link down there if you wanted to consider getting a freeze dryer. They're very spendy, but again, they're cans that, and if you freeze dry them right and package them right in Mylar bags with, again, oxygen absorbers and everything, they will last 20, 25 years. And so to be able to put things away for really long-term storage is excellent. Excellent. So peppermint tea. Oh, good. Okay. Oh, that's cool. I didn't know. Ginger. Okay. So yeah, there's definitely many of them out there, but just to have, you know, in freeze dried form that's there that can be thrown in there. That's just a little tip there, so you don't have to worry about having going to the store and getting fresh stuff or having it, in the freezer or something. So then I have a few tips here. So just as preservation methods can impact nutrients, so can the variety, the cultivar, growing condition, and cooking methods as well. So to get a full range of nutrients, eat a variety of foods prepared in a variety of ways. Preserve your food as soon as possible after harvest. It's kind of why I'm trying to do this now, because people are starting to harvest things. Stuff's coming out of the garden. So there are many different ways that you can preserve things. And, but just kind of giving you an idea here of what you can do, how much nutrition you want to preserve, different things like that. Once preserved, store the food properly in a cool, dark place and in airtight containers. Eat canned foods within a year to 18 months, frozen foods within 3 to 6 months, and dehydrated foods in a couple of years. So we've got other things. Home food, this is kind of important here too. So home food preservation practices have been passed from generation to generation for enjoyable, tasty ways to extend a bountiful harvest. Although the goals to save food through home preservation activities still remain, many methods are no longer considered acceptable or have not been updated for safety purposes. Anyone practicing methods of food preservation, whether it be freezing, canning, dehydrating, pickling, fermenting, or processing to value-added products, should become familiar and comfortable with updated recommendations to ensure safe practices. I can't tell you how many times I've heard people that are like maybe 10 years older than me, 10, 15 years older than me or something, and they'll can something the way their grandmother canned things. And I said, well, that's the way my grandma did it. It's like water bath canning meat, which is a huge no-no. You've got to pressure can meat, but they put it in the water bath canner, and it's like, what? And they go, well, my grandma did that all the time, and everything was fine. Nobody died from it. Nobody got sick, and it was like, okay. So just because somebody way back when did it, and it was like, doesn't mean that it's still okay. So let me see what's going on. 2 drops of water, 1 tablespoon apple cider vinegar, raw honey, a slice of ginger. Oh, that's a good one. Made a turkey meat bone broth soup and roasted sweet meat, winter squash. Ooh, then freeze dried. Oh, Deb, you are amazing. There you go. Take a bite. Can in an old pickle jar with original pickle lid. Oh, you guys are funny. But anyway, so there, there's a whole chart of nutrients in the here. I'll put it again here. The link for that Colorado Extension Agency there. They have a whole chart of the nutrients, all your vitamins, your minerals, all that kind of stuff. They have the chart that shows which canning process preserves that vitamin or nutrient or destroys it. So, if it's like, let's say vitamin C is very, very important for you to retain, then you're going to want to try to get as much through, freeze drying as possible. because the freeze drying process is it freezes the food first, it gets it frozen, and um, then it goes through a dehydrating process, draws all the moisture out of it, and then um, all that kind of stuff. So your mom taught us all kids how to can when you were young. That's awesome. That's so great. Follow rules and mix and roll can. Yeah, you guys are so. I know, but there are some things that are just like, I mean, yes, they can go overboard on protection and safety and all that kind of stuff, but there are some things you just got to be smart about, and um, anyway, so these are all of the comparisons, and we're talking about nutritional benefits, in what works best, what foods are going to be best for you. And of course, it's all up to you to determine what you want to do with your food. But if you're putting up a garden and you have more food than you want, or if you're able to go to a farmer's market and grab a bunch of things, or if you can get a huge crate of peaches from as your standard, if you can get however things coming, the food comes to you. It could be a neighbor saying, hey, I've got an apple tree full of apples, I can't get to them this year, do you want to pick them? Be like, yeah. So then you have to figure out what it is you want to do. You want to make apple juice out of them, applesauce, cut up apples, and then how are you going to preserve all of that? So anyway, all right, guys, got to run. I've got some phone calls I got to attend to, but you guys take care. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks to all my moderators. You guys are amazing. I really appreciate it. And take care. God bless. Always have hope, and have a great week. And we'll see you next week. Good night.